issue. The issue is it seems as though he wants to kind of like exert power and dominance over people who
Again, we do not know what is the information that law enforcement had before going in to execute that search warrant.
Everyone's heard about it by now. The fall of one of the most powerful and influential figures in the music industry, Sean Diddy Combs, has left the world in complete shock. But this isn't just your average celebrity scandal. The man who seemed untouchable for decades might actually spend the rest of his life behind bars. Yes, you heard that right. Diddy could be facing life in prison, and from what we've been hearing, this isn't some brief stay at a posh, low-security facility. He's looking at a life sentence without parole, locked away in a prison that's as far from luxury as it gets.
So she claims she did try to leave several times, but Diddy would always send his team to find her, track her down, bring her back, under the basis that her career would be ruined if she left.
Let's dive right into it. Because if you think you've heard the worst of it, think again. When Diddy was first arrested, it seemed like another case of a celebrity getting into trouble, but somehow getting off with a slap on the wrist. After all, he's been at the center of drama for years, but nothing ever stuck. Many assumed that, with his power and wealth, this would be no different. He'd spend a few months dealing with legal issues, pay some hefty fines, and then it'd all be over. It's almost as if Diddy himself thought the same. He reportedly went to jail voluntarily, expecting a quick resolution, maybe even probation, and then back to his mansions in Miami and Los Angeles. But nope, that's not what's happening. This time, the game has changed. And it's not just his fans who are shocked. Diddy himself seems completely blindsided. He's panicking, realizing he's in much deeper than he ever anticipated.
Reason why is because they gathered so much evidence. Well, supposedly they gathered so many videos and laptops and also electronic devices.
So, what's going on? How did it get to this point? Let's rewind a bit and take a look at how this whole nightmare began. Diddy's arrest earlier this year wasn't just about one isolated incident. Oh no, it was the culmination of years, even decades, of questionable behavior and horrifying allegations. When federal agents took him into custody, it wasn't just about one complaint or a minor offense. We're talking about a federal investigation that had been building up for years. They didn't just arrest him on a whim. There were dozens of witnesses, mountains of evidence, and a criminal history that can only be described as disturbing.
The experience of getting over it is usually pretty quick and easy if you really don't think that he's right for you anyway. Just keep it moving.
Diddy is facing charges that are beyond serious. And we're not talking about the kind of charges celebrities typically face where they just write a check and it all goes away. These are the kinds of charges that land people in prison for life. His crimes go way beyond what most people initially thought. And it's becoming clear that he's in real trouble.
Diddy? I think industry talk, there's a lot of people who, who have worked for him. There's been stories around, which is, not necessarily unusual.
Now, here's where things get really interesting. Diddy's lawyers, of course, have been scrambling to get him out. They're pulling every trick in the book, arguing that he's not a flight risk, offering to have him confined to his Florida mansion under strict supervision, GPS monitoring, the whole 9 yards. But the judge isn't buying any of it. The court has repeatedly denied his bail requests, making it clear that Diddy is too dangerous to be let out. Why? Because they believe he could tamper with witnesses, obstruct justice, or worse.
I remember looking in his eyes and I said to him, "What did y'all do?" Because I could see that she was really sedated. That was the first time I ever seen her.
And the scale of what he's been accused of. It's shocking, to say the least. His crimes allegedly stretch back decades. There are reports that he's been orchestrating some seriously disturbing activities for years, using his wealth and power to silence his victims and cover his tracks. Some of the claims paint a picture of a man who was able to do whatever he wanted without any consequences. He allegedly manipulated people, coerced them into situations they couldn't escape from, and used his influence in the entertainment industry to ensure no one would speak out against him.
I mean, according to Cassie's attorneys and what was reported there, and how they spoke out, they said they're participating with the government. So let's see how this works out.
One of the most haunting aspects of this story is just how many people have come forward. This isn't one or two people speaking out. We're talking about dozens of individuals who claim to have been victimized by him. And what's worse, some of the accusations are so detailed and consistent that it's hard to believe they aren't true. Now, some experts have weighed in on the situation, and it's clear that the case against Diddy is ironclad. One expert even mentioned that the evidence the prosecution has is overwhelming. There are records, videos, and testimony that allegedly paint a horrifying picture of a man who thought he was above the law. According to legal insiders, the government has seized more than just paperwork. There are reportedly dozens of terabytes of data, including emails, texts, and other digital communications that support the allegations. See y'all? And let's not forget, they've also confiscated over 100 electronic devices, including phones, tablets, and iCloud accounts. This isn't just a simple case of he said. She said there's a mountain of digital evidence that seems to back up everything the victims have been saying.
So, it's just crazy. Just read.
To make matters worse for Diddy, There's that infamous video of him assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Cassie, back in 2016. This video has surfaced multiple times in the media, and it shows a side of him that many people either didn't want to believe existed or simply ignored. The video is reportedly quite disturbing, showing him physically attacking Cassie. Even Diddy's own legal team has struggled to spin this one. When the video came up in court, all they could do was mention that Diddy went to rehab afterward. But let's be real, that video alone could sink him, and it's just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was up.
There's also a whole legal history that Diddy can't seem to escape. His past is littered with accusations, from violent outbursts to manipulative behavior. And while he's managed to skate by in the past, it seems like his luck has finally run out. The fact that he's facing life in prison without parole isn't just shocking, it's the culmination of years of alleged crimes finally catching up to him. His history is riddled with stories of abuse, manipulation, and unchecked power. For years, people whispered about his dark side, but now those whispers have turned into loud, undeniable accusations.
It sounds like a very toxic work environment. What is your take on that?
Toxic, but just, I mean, this is illegal behavior. You cannot put hands, this is battery, it's criminal battery.
Diddy's desperation is becoming more and more apparent as the reality of his situation sinks in. He's reportedly been demanding that his legal team do whatever it takes to get him out of jail. But here's the thing, even his lawyers are running out of options. The courts have made it clear that Diddy isn't going anywhere. His wealth and influence, which used to be his greatest weapons, have now become part of the reason the court won't let him go. The fear that he could use his money and power to intimidate witnesses or flee the country is too great. The judge in the case has outright said that no condition of release would be sufficient to guarantee the safety of the community or the integrity of the trial.
The only way he will not go to prison for the time that they want to give him is if he start giving them something.
It's hard to feel sorry for him when you consider just how many people have spoken out against him. The number of victims who have come forward is staggering, and each one has a story that seems to match the others. Many of them describe a man who thought he was untouchable, someone who could manipulate and control others without any fear of consequences. And for a long time, that was the case. But now, the tide has turned.
Personally, I've never met Diddy a day in my life, but when you do wrong, it comes back on you. So none of us should be surprised.
One of the most chilling aspects of this case is just how systematic Diddy's alleged behavior seems to have been. According to reports, he didn't just act on impulse. He had an entire network of people helping him, from personal assistants to security guards, all ensuring that his dark activities were kept hidden from the public. This wasn't just the behavior of a man acting out of control. It was calculated, premeditated, and covered up by those around him.
Is he controlling? Yes, he is. Will he put his hands on a female? Yes, he will. Would he put his hands on a male producer or anything? Yes, he will.
And that brings us to the fans. Let's talk about how people are reacting to all of this. Some fans are in complete disbelief. After all, Diddy has been a massive figure in the music world for decades. He's been a symbol of success, power, and influence. But the revelations of his dark side have left many feeling betrayed. One fan commented, "And to all the ladies who were assaulted, hope you all get justice." This sentiment is echoed across the board. People are angry, disgusted, and demanding that justice be served.
That this is the end of the Diddy story as we know it.
Another fan comment really hits home. Now, I'm definitely convinced that he had Biggie hit up. This comment speaks to the long-standing rumors that Diddy was somehow involved in the tragic demise of his friend and collaborator, the notorious B.I.G. for years, Conspiracy. Theories have swirled around Diddy, suggesting that he had a hand in orchestrating Biggie's untimely end. While there's no concrete evidence to support these claims, the comment shows just how deeply the distrust of Diddy has seeped into the public's perception of him. The more that comes out about his actions, the more people are starting to question everything they thought they knew about him. But let's not forget where all of this is happening. Diddy isn't just locked up anywhere. He's in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a facility notorious for its horrific conditions. We're talking about a place where inmates are routinely subjected to violence, where living conditions are described as disgusting, and where even high-profile inmates like Ghislaine Maxwell and R. Kelly have been held. Diddy, who once lived in luxury, is now waking up every day to the sound of steel doors slamming shut and staring at the cinder block walls of his cell. There's no escape from the reality of his situation. And the worst part, it could be decades or even life before he sees the outside of those walls again. He's gone from being one of the most powerful men in the music industry to just another inmate in a system that doesn't care about his celebrity status. In conclusion, this whole situation leaves us with a lot of questions. Will Diddy finally face the consequences of his actions, or will his legal team pull off a miracle? And what does this mean for the music industry as a whole? Are we finally seeing a reckoning for those who have long used their power to exploit others? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Stay tuned, because it's only going to get more intense from here.